So I was talking with a client of mine, Shelby Harvey, shout out to her, a couple days ago, and she said, I wish people talked about how much effort it takes to regulate every day. And I thought this was really important to address because, if you're someone who's maybe been doing this work for a little while, and you feel like you have a pretty good grasp on what it takes to regulate your nervous system, I think some of us have this idea of like regulation is just this place you arrive to. And the reality is first of all, when you've been living in a dysregulated state for decades, which I'm gonna be honest, most of us have, um, it's not that simple doing months of this, even years of this, because you're fighting decades of being one way and holding tension and in your body a certain way and being on high alert and in survival mode a certain way for decades. So a month of this, even a couple of years of this, isn't going to be enough to just kind of send you into regulated autopilot. The other part of it too is that we are meant to have dysregulated moments. Like dysregulation is a communication tool from our body telling us that, hey, this doesn't feel safe to us. Hey, this feels different. Hey, like it's communicating through dysregulation, okay? And so we're meant to be dysregulated, but we don't want to stay in that state all the time. We want the body to find safety, okay? But as you keep doing this work, the goal is just to raise your baseline of what pushes you into dysregulation, okay? So this episode today is really important, and I want you to stick around till the end because if you're someone who's been working on it for a while and you're like, how come I'm having this moment again, or I feel like I resorting to old habits, or I feel like I'm, lost traction on all the work I've done. Chances are you haven't. You just need a new understanding on what it actually means to do this work. So stick around till the end and you're going to get that, okay? So, I'm always super honest in saying again, I've been doing this work for years and not only have I done it on myself, I support other people on this journey and helping them have these breakthroughs, and I still have to regulate daily, multiple times a day. Okay? And it's not because I'm not good at what I do. It's not because I don't, what I say doesn't work. It's because, first off, your body changes. Okay. The body is adaptive. The body responds to environment and seasons and hormones and food. And so you guys know it's not the same every single day. One night you sleep great, one night you don't. One night it's where I live -30 outside, one day it's +10. And yes, that can be back-to-back days. Um, One day you have these beautiful whole foods and the next day you got kids and soccer and so the meals are maybe a little bit quicker and not as nutrient dense. Like that's just the reality of life. Maybe one day you see these terrible things on the news, or I don't watch the news, but like on your feed, and then it sits with you. Like it's just no day is the same. So your body has to adapt to whatever stressors and triggers you took on that day. Okay. And so like, yes, the goal of the nervous system is to be able to assess and adapt those things autonomically, which means automatically, hopefully. But sometimes it needs extra support. And I think that's where the challenge sometimes therein lies is we think it should just be automatic. Right? Like, oh, my body should just know how to process the stress. Well, newsflash, we live in a world right now where we're inundated with stress and our operating system of nervous system can't keep up. It just can't. You know what I mean? Like when we used to live in tribes and nature, the real threats we had were like a bear chasing us or environmental things or, again, some type of wild animal. Beyond that, we lived in nature, we ate whole foods. We weren't worrying about jobs or promotions or this car or this person or this politician. We weren't worrying about any of these things. So we didn't have as much stress not as much stress was inundating our body. Okay. Where now it's like the wild, wild west out there. You're getting hit with, as soon as you open your phone, you're being hit with stress. Okay. It's just instead of a bear, it's an email from your boss. Instead of a tornado, it's seeing an image of some awful war that's happening overseas or some cartel violence. I don't know. That's what's happening right now in Mexico. Like just all kinds of crazy shit. Right. So knowing that our body is dealing with that much stress, guess what? We have to take it back into our hands to regulate. And that means more conscious effort around these things. It's unfortunately not automatic, just where we are in life right now. Okay? So knowing that I have to actively regulate multiple times a day, instead of judging myself for like, oh, Minty, you should be able to handle this, I have to just listen to what my body's telling me. And don't get me wrong, my mind will still do that to me. Okay. I told a story a couple weeks ago on my Instagram about how when we got back from Vietnam, it was like kind of like my first day of getting back into doing my daily, business building activities. And one of those things is being on LinkedIn every morning. And I got on there and I started doing my normal thing and my nervous system just switched. I started to become hyper fixated on my posts and like how it was performing. I was over analyzing people's messages and comments. My chest was getting tight. My stomach was getting tight. I was like nibbling on a little bit of breakfast at the same time and I couldn't digest it. And so I could feel my body going to dysregulation. But my mind was going, what's the big deal? It's just LinkedIn. You've been here before. Just keep pushing through and keep pushing through. So I tried. And then after about 10 minutes, I was like, fuck this. I need to go outside. I need to go walk around the yard. And it was cold out, but the cold can be regulating too, right? But what was wild to me in that moment is how my brain was trying to get me to ignore my body actively. And I was talking to my clients this week about how your brain will do that. I'm like, it's good to give that voice a name. My nattering voice is Sheila. I don't know why it's Sheila, and no offense to the Sheilas out there, but that's her name. Okay, so Sheila was getting a little animated and a little loud, and she was just trying to keep me doing the same old things that I've always done, right? Which is, it's not a big deal. Keep working, keep pushing through. When my body clearly was having a hard time. Okay. And so then I got up and I walked outside and I just shut my computer for a little bit and I got back to a balanced state. And then guess what? I could continue with my day. And in hindsight, do I really know why I got dysregulated? I mean, a little bit because I just had a month off. Probably was putting a little bit of pressure on myself to get back into the swing of things because I just had a month off when we were traveling. So self-inflicted, honestly. That is not neither here or there. It doesn't matter why I got dysregulated. The point is my body was telling me it needed help and I had to listen to it. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. Even after all these years and all the tools I have and all the work I've done, it still happens. The point of doing this work is not so that your body never gets triggered or dysregulated. It's so that you can be so good at reading those signs that when you do get dysregulated, that window is a lot smaller, right? In the past, I would have ignored that. I would have worked the whole day through that. So then that means what? I would have been dysregulated all day. I probably wouldn't have eat lunch because I couldn't digest my food. Then I'd bring that fight or flight energy home. Then I'd have a shitty sleep because, again, I never actually got myself back into regulation. I'd have a shitty sleep. I'd wake up full of dread. I'd wake up full of anxiety. And then I'd start my day all over again in that same energy. And I would live in that space day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, right? This time it took me 10 minutes. Think about how much time, energy that saved me. Think about how much that saved my relationships because I wasn't as reactive. Think about how much better I was able to show up for my clients and my business and my team. Like think about just that skill set of being able to listen to my body. Think about how much that changed the next day, days, months, years, whatever. The point is you want to get good at listening to that body and then be able to support it accordingly. And yes, this takes energy. Okay, that's the other thing. I know this all comes back to capacity and support, and the whole goal is kind of like from feeling like everything is overwhelming and taking so much energy, and the goal is to kind of get back to a place where it doesn't feel like you're efforting so much. But the reality is at the beginning, this is going to take energy. I don't want to pretend like it's not, like it's going to be a walk in the park. But you know what else takes energy? Overthinking, losing your shit on people, rewriting your work and over preparing for presentations and all this stuff 5 times, rereading your work 10 times, rereading that email 20 times, like all of that takes energy too. But what is it perpetuating? Right? So if it's 10 minutes of reading over the same email over and over, or 10 minutes of peeling yourself away from your desk to go get some fresh air and move your body, what do you want to choose? Right? And then the beauty in that is when you choose the regulation, you naturally become more productive and efficient for the other stuff. Because guess what? Because you chose to peel yourself away from your desk and take that 10-minute walk outside around the building, now you come back with a clearer head, a more grounded body. You can see bigger picture. You can formulate your words better. You can handle tougher conversations better. You're all around way better leader, human, partner, parent, all of that. Because you prioritized regulation first. Productivity naturally happens when you are more regulated. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to force productivity instead of actually focusing on the key to that, which is the regulation. Okay? So yeah, it's going to take energy. And again, especially when this is not your norm, which for most of us, it's not. We're not taught these skills in school, or even most of our parents didn't know what to do. And then again, we're being hit from all angles with all these stressors. So it's like, it almost seems crazy that you have to prioritize these things, but this is where we're at. So if you've been doing this work for a while and now you're at a place where you're finding like you're just a little bit more reactive again and sleep's getting broken, what's probably happening is your body's asking you now for an upgrade in the support strategy. And that doesn't mean you failed. That doesn't mean you're a failure or you're broken or you don't know what you're doing. It just means the body needs a different support strategy now. It might need a little bit more. One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. Right? Because also remember, when it comes to these strategies of regulation, you've heard me talk about it has to happen in baby steps, right? So I always use meditation as an example. Like, obviously, meditation is a great, phenomenal tool, scientifically proven what it can do for your body and your mind and your heart. But when people first come to me, they're too dysregulated to go lay and meditate or sit and meditate. It's way too slow. Right. So instead of like, I rarely recommend meditation to people. I can actually only think of one client that took to it really quickly and it's like his go-to. But for everyone else, I recommend movement, right? Simplest things are just getting up and walking, but then we go into stretching, then we go into somatic exercises, right? We have to keep the body moving, but just peeled away from the triggers, peeled away from the screen, peeled away from the desk so that it can come back to itself through movement, right? Dancing, all that kind of stuff. So because meditation is too slow, we don't start people there, but that doesn't mean it's not a great tool. Okay. So if you've been doing this work for a while now and you're like, hey, I figured out what worked for me. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, that stuff's not really working. Again, it's not because you're broken. It's just because now we need to take it to a deeper level. So before, where it was like, hey, 10 minutes of walking was enough for me. Maybe the body is actually ready for some meditation. Maybe it's ready for some breath work. Maybe it's ready to go sit in nature by yourself with no one else and just sit and listen to the sounds of it. Maybe it's ready to do a solo hike. Maybe it's ready to do a solo travel vacation where you really just get to be yourself. Like, there's varying degrees to this. And again, what's important is that you listen to that call, not judge yourself for it. Okay. So if all of a sudden the things aren't working anymore and your body's starting to dysregulate over things that you had kind of um, found some common ground on before, don't judge it. Use it as data. Okay, this used to actually like this 10-minute walk around the block used to be enough for me. Now I'm finding like it's not quite enough. Maybe I need to go a little bit longer. Maybe I need to, when I go, I need to not bring my phone with me. Hopefully, you're not doing that as it is, but, or maybe I need to not bring the dog because, like, for instance, our dog, I love Oscar, but a walk with Oscar's not always regulating because he's so big, right? Like he's 120 pounds. So if he sees another dog, if he sees an a cat, like that is the most dysregulating thing for me. So a walk with Oscar at one point was really regulating. Now, it's not always because he gets a little, he's as big as I am. So you can imagine how fun that is when he's pulling on me. Pure muscle. So, again, listening to those signs of your body, not judging it, but instead finding deeper ways to support it, right? Think of it like a kid. If you have kids or a niece or a nephew, as they get older, they're going to need different levels of support in different ways. And your nervous system is the same thing. If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. Okay. And again, yes, is this going to take energy? Yes, but it's also going to replenish your energy too. Where the overthinking and the doom scrolling and the doom thinking and the negative thinking, those don't replenish your energy. They use it, but they don't replenish it. Where regulation can actually replenish. And again, it has to happen through action. You can't think yourself to regulation. I say this in every damn episode, I feel like now, but you can't think your way there. You have to act through it. But work with what's in your wheelhouse and then try new things. But don't shame yourself for having to switch the strategy. The reason my clients end up working with me is because they've been trying to work with the same strategy for so long anyways. Right? What worked in your 20s for most of us, we had all the gas and the energy in the world. You could survive off of 4 hours sleep. You could go out one night and wake up and go to work the next day and power through. Like obviously that doesn't work in your 30s and that doesn't work in your 40s. And so most of my clients are 30 plus coming to me and they're realizing that strategy didn't work anymore. So they need to pivot, but they don't quite know how to pivot because the body doesn't want to let go of that old strategy. Well, it's the same thing with the nervous system. You have to adapt, but you adapt by listening to the signals of your body, right? The challenge is that, I always talk about this phrase I heard where some seasons some seasons you're asking the questions and some seasons you're living the answers. And what happens is we do all this work and get to this new season and this new version of ourselves, but then we try and answer new questions with old answers. And it doesn't work. And we try and we try and we try and we try and we wonder why we can't do it. And then we get mad at ourselves and we judge ourselves. Yeah. New questions require new answers. And you need both to have a fulfilling life, right? But if you've been doing all this work on yourself, right? Mindset wise, emotionally, you need to expect that you are going to need new tools to support your nervous system in the process. And there's no shame in that. Actually, that's the definition of high performance is adaptability and being able to pivot and move with the times. But guess what? What makes those pivots so hard? It's your judgment. It's your self-judgment. It's your self-criticism. That's what makes it so damn hard. I'm not saying choosing new habits isn't difficult, but what really makes it tough is what we're telling ourselves in our head. Okay? So it's a short and sweet episode. If you've been doing this work for a while, listen to your body and see if it's asking you for a new support strategy. And then instead of trying to hold on to the old one, shift, adapt. And that might mean getting some outside help. That might mean having a coach or someone point out where the strategy is no longer working. It's trial and error, right? But But all you're doing by trying to keep answering these new questions with old answers is you're just burning energy. You're just wasting energy. Okay? So if things have felt like they're a lot more, if you had to effort a lot more to regulate lately, again, it's not a sign that you're failing or you're broken. It's just a sign that it's time for a new strategy.